Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Freed, and I'm joined, at least for the time being, by my good friend Mike Luciano. Mike, we are live. First round NFL mock draft watch party live stream. I don't know what we're calling this. I don't think we settle on an official name, but we will be here live. Pick 1 to pick 32. Thank you to everybody already tuning in. We're going to be hanging out all night. If you want a place to hang out, sit around with the local Jets community and just talk Jets, talk NFL draft, we will be here. We have some guests planned, but first, Mike, how are you doing, my friend? What's the vibes like? How you feeling?
Well, here's why it's good. Because the Jets are either going to add the next Brian Burns and David Bailey or the next Clay Matthews and Arvell Reese.
Okay.
And then at 16, anything's fair game. Thank you so much for being here because there are a lot of draft streams and draft shows, especially in the Jets world. So we really are honored that you guys decided, even for a little bit, even just pop in for a minute, just say, hey, how you doing? My favorite color is blue or whatever. Just to pop in and join our draft show. You picked us out of a couple other ones. So
what is your favorite?
Really thankful for that.
What is your favorite color, Mike?
Silver. Remember?
We did have this conversation recently.
And you were like, you're weird.
You are weird for that. I stand by that.
So let's just get the festivities underway because you know where to find us: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, and on YouTube, you can like this stream. That'll really help push us up. Subscribing, that's a really big help. Hyping the video, if you have the ability or the predilection to do that, that would really help get us up there. Justin, I'm going to be on for the first 2 picks and then rejoin in about the middle, about like picks 11 to 20. But why don't you let us know about all the other great guests that we're going to have on today?
I am very happy that we have been able to reach out to a lot of members of our fan-sided team, a lot of people who know the draft very well. And I said this on the show yesterday, actually, that I haven't done as much draft stuff this year as I've done in the past. And obviously, more than enough to talk about the first couple of rounds. But a lot of the day 3 guys, I'm very curious to talk to some of the best draft analysts that we have here at Fansided. Some of the names that you can expect on the show. Jaime Eisner, who's done a lot of work at the Draft Network. He will be joining us pretty early on in the show. Right after Mike, he's expected to join us at some time, maybe around pick 3. He'll be talking all things Jets, all things NFL draft. Very excited to talk it up with him. Charlie Baduini, who's another member of the Jet Press team. He's going to be handling the initial fallout of the hopefully Arvell Reese pick. We'll find out pretty soon. But after that, he will be hopping on and talking some Jets. We'll be joined as well by Matt Fitzgerald and Levi Dombro, 2 other site experts here at Fansided. Matt has done a lot of work on this draft class. He is our Bengals site expert. I believe he's done stuff at Barstool Sports, I think. Maybe Sports Illustrated. I don't want to get that wrong. All the Twitters for these guys are linked on Twitter, where I tweeted out the graphic. And eventually, we will be joined. I won't announce who it is yet, but we'll be joined by a member of the Jets content creation community. I've not said his name yet, so I guess I'll keep that a surprise. He'll be joining us later on in the show, probably towards the end, to talk all things Jets and what they did at 2 and 16, if there were any trades, who the Jets might target at 33. As Jeff is asking in chat, are you guys going to react to every pick? Yes, we will. We will be here reacting live to every single pick.
Justin will, and then a rotating cast of characters on the left side of the screen, including myself.
Yes. Right guy's going to be here the whole time. Left guy will be interchanging throughout the show. Mike will be here for at least probably about half of this, close to half the draft.
I would say so. There's some business job side of things in terms of writing and organization that I have to take care of. So splitting duties here. I'm wearing 2 hats tonight.
You don't prioritize us. I get it. You don't prioritize me. You don't prioritize.
Well, I have to. It's my job. I ain't got a choice.
I know. But to answer that question, yes, we'll be talking not only Jets, but we'll be talking NFL. So if you just want to hang out and talk about the NFL draft, we will be here. And again, we're going to be talking it with a few guys who know the draft extremely well. But of course, a lot of this will be covered through a Jets lens, what they do at 2, what they do at 16. I don't know. I don't have the draft on right now. Full transparency. I have a second laptop next to me, and I have the New York Knicks game on, but right now they're getting their asses clapped right now by the Hawks, and it's not looking good. So I mean, look, I don't know how else to say it, man.
Any combination of words.
It's not going well, Mike.
That's how we're starting, so it's only going to get better. Obviously, the question that we're going to tie ourselves over with for the next half hour or so is, of course, the question that we've talked about a lot for a month because it warrants it: Arvell Reese or David Bailey. The betting odds and the prediction odds seem to say Reese. A lot of the national insiders will say it is Bailey. I don't want to say I'm stressing either pick because this roster is so bad and they can go in so many directions that they really are going to come out of this with multiple starters just by accident. They're going to fall into multiple starters on next year's team. So that's why I'm not super stressed because they're either going to get a guy who is a premier premier speed sack artist in David Bailey, or one of the most versatile athletic freaks we have seen in years in Arvell Reese. This is an optimism stream. I'm Clark at the end of vacation. Maybe I don't care. You when there's going to be doom and gloom time, when it's week 9 and they're 2-6 and then we're talking about firing people, then we could be doom and gloom. For right now, let's be optimistic.
I'll be honest and say that I would be disappointed and underwhelmed if David Bailey's the pick. Again, I'm not going to throw hands with Darren Muji. I'm not going to freak out about it. I don't think it's crash out worthy if you're a Jets fan, but it's definitely a pick I'd be underwhelmed by. Full transparency as well. We are going to be, if you are following along with the broadcast, we will be ahead of the broadcast by a little bit. We are going to be announcing these picks kind of when they're announced and talking about them when they're announced on Twitter, when the news breaks. So just a heads up with that. If you're someone that likes to watch the broadcast, just know that we will be a little ahead. And I'll also throw out this, man, we're going to be answering questions in chat the entire stream, because this is going to be a very long stream. We're just kind of hanging out. If you are a normal happy draft day.
Mike Zillman says happy draft day.
Happy draft day, Mike.
And right after that, Pete Baez gets the first question.
I was going to say really quick. Well, hold on.
After your point.
After my point. Yeah. I was going to say, if you are a normal viewer of the podcast, I feel like this is going to be a little bit different, a little bit more casual, laid back, because it's like a 4-hour stream. I don't want to talk for 4 hours, Mike. So I'm going to try and do I'm going to try to let the guests talk, but I also want the chat to do a lot of talking. So if you guys have comments, if you guys have questions, I want to hear what you say, even if it's as simple as James saying Justin looking handsome. Which, we always appreciate that. If you want to stroke my ego, I got it. Appreciate it.
I've never gotten that. Okay.
Mr. Mule saying nice face shot, Justin. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. This is great. Chat. See, this is the kind of interaction we want in chat, folks.
He's not going to get with you guys. He's not going to. So, Pete, when do we grab a cornerback? I would say probably the day 2. Now, supposedly they like Colton Hood a lot at 16. I still think it's going to be a receiver. It wouldn't shock me, especially if they have a guy like Mansour Delane who goes on a fall or something like that, or if they trade back and there's a guy like a Chris Johnson or a Colton Hood who they met with. I would, if I was Darren Muji, if I just jumped into his body, I'm going for day 2. But it wouldn't surprise me, because I think it's probably, let me say 80% wide receiver at 16.
That's what they want.
And then maybe 20% cornerback.
Whether the board falls the way that they want is to be determined. But if the Jets had it their way, they're leaving day 1 with an edge rusher and a wide receiver. Whether that's Arvell Reese or David Bailey, we're going to find out very, very soon. As for cornerback, Mike, we both did our mocks on Wednesday's stream. So if you didn't check that out, I mean, we'll recap it a little bit here, but you had the Jets taking Traden Stukes on day 2 at pick 44, who's more of just a do-it-all defensive back, but absolutely can fill that cornerback void. I had them taking D'Angelo Pons at 33. I think he's someone they can be looking at as well. Mike, I'm glad you mentioned Colton Hood and Chris Johnson. I think those are guys absolutely that if they are there at 33, I believe the Jets met with both of them. They might have had top 30 visits with both
Johnson.
of them.
I would prefer over Hood.
Interesting, because I think Hood is probably higher in the consensus board.
Johnson is, I believe he had a passer rating of 18 when targeted last year.
Johnson is pretty
good.
His tape is so good. It's just how much are you weighing the level of competition is the question with Chris.
Well, Emmanuel McNeil Warren's going to go in the top 25, and he went to Toledo.
I know. Well, I think they're going to go around the same range, McNeil Warren and Johnson.
It's the Quinion Mitchell thing from a couple of years ago.
It is.
He turned out fine.
It is. Did he play at all with McNeil Warren or no at Toledo?
I think they may have overlapped briefly.
Okay.
Sanford Blumenfield. That's a fantastic name.
That is a great name.
Really want the Jets. Sounds like an old school 1910 steel magnate.
I love it.
Really want the Jets to trade down with Saints or Chiefs to get more picks. We got a quote from 10,000 Needles on Twitter. That's an aggressive name.
The Jets, as far as the Jets trading down to get more picks,
Mike representing the Asian Jets fans here in Singapore. I am not Asian.
Well, maybe he's saying that.
His name is Mike.
Dude, wait! Shout out Singapore, by the way.
Shout out Singapore for watching.
I have been to Singapore. Wonderful country, city. It's both, I guess you could say. Cleanest place I've probably ever been to, and I would also say it is the tourist's dream. I guess there's photo ops everywhere, but we do have the number 1 pick in. By the way,
number 1 pick is in.
If we want to announce that the number 1 pick is in, I wonder who the Raiders are selecting.
I have a pretty good idea.
There it is. The Las Vegas Raiders have selected Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. Who the hell saw that coming? What a shocker.
Wow.
Top of the draft. Oh, my God. Obviously, we knew this was going to happen. I don't even know if we want to talk too much about this pick other than just bemoaning the fact that the Jets were not able to land Mendoza, because how much easier and cleaner would this pre-draft process have been, Mike, if the Jets just had the number 1 overall pick instead of 2? It would have been so easy. It would have been great.
Well, honestly, it would have been a little more boring.
It would have been boring. First, I mean, yes.
Look at our shows for the last couple months. We've had some great shows. Bailey, Reese, Bain, even. Imagine if it was just Mendoza, and then we got to go and get all these arguments started about 16.
Well, we'll get to talk to Levi about this when he comes on the show later, because he is, of course, our Raiders expert. I also want to talk to him about Geno Smith and Dylan Parham. We'll get to that later, but we can ask him how he's handled this pre-draft process, knowing that the Raiders were going to take Fernando Mendoza at 1. I don't know if there's too much analysis we want to talk about that. Honestly, Mike, I think we should just go in and talk about number 2, because the Jets are officially
fun fact beforehand, Fernando Mendoza now joins Joe Burrow, Jameis Winston, and Cam Newton as the only quarterback since 1967 to win the Heisman, a national title, and go number 1 overall.
Wow. It's pretty good. Pretty good
track record.
Pretty good group. The Jets are on the clock, Mike. This is what we've been waiting for.
Here we go. It's decision time.
The pick is, somebody saying the pick is, I haven't seen that the pick
is the pick in.
I haven't seen that yet, but we'll have it as soon as we see it. We will have this pick, and you will see our live reaction. Mike, I want you to
Arvell Bailey.
in a few words right now, what is your reaction if they take Arvell Reese? Also,
Thrilled.
wait, first of all,
Bailey, I'm happy.
First of all, shout out Mr. Mule. He said, I only have one device, so I had to decide between the actual draft broadcast or watching you guys. He chose us. Mr. Mule, you are the man, and we greatly appreciate it, buddy. So what is your response if they take Reese?
Thrilled, and I'm happy with Bailey.
Fair.
I think that's the way to look at it.
I think I will be less happy than Bailey. I think I'm just lower on Bailey than you. Where is Bailey on your big board? By the
6.
Way? He's 6. Okay.
Well, Mendoza and Love were in there too. They weren't even in consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Downs and Styles, which are positional value.
Yeah.
No goes. So
as I have said in the past, I would be underwhelmed with Bailey as the pick, and I think in a normal year he'd be a top 10, back half of the top 10 pick. Jordan Schultz, by the way, just tweeted out an eyeball emoji. So
I believe he's doing that for.
I'm gonna throw that out there. That there was a pre-draft rumor that the Cowboys could move up to 2. I'm gonna just say that right now before anything happens. In case that does happen, I want that on record. If the Jets move down to 12, that's crazy, and we'll see what happens with that. They would get an insane haul, I imagine. I am very curious to see if a team moves up here to 2. Do you think that what are the odds you think of that happening, Mike?
I would say unlikely, but Will Anderson got traded for a first pick in the next year. Never underestimate the draft, man.
Speaking of the odds, the betting odds had a major change within the last 10 hours or so. At the morning,
shifted heavily to Reese.
In the morning, I believe it was -200. Bailey was the favorite. Now -300. Reese is the favorite, which is funnily, Mike, if you go back like 2 months ago, Reese was around -300 to be the pick at number 2 overall. We have come full circle, as we often do.
Betting odds are influenced by people betting on it, so that could be people who are led astray. So
I'll throw this out there. I do have money on Arvell Reese being the 2nd overall pick. So I'm hoping that he is the pick for that reason.
So you have a vested interest.
I do have I also have money on Jeremiah Love being a top 3 pick. So we'll see if that happens. Mr. Mule, a good question.
Pickens on the block.
They just agreed to that. He just signed his tender. That was reported right before the draft. I think that was kind of the way of easing tensions a little bit before the NFL draft, because obviously there was a lot of talk about maybe the Cowboys move up for a receiver, and maybe that means Pickens gets moved. I would say it's unlikely that he gets moved during the draft. I think they probably figure it out with him, would be my guess right now.
Now, supposedly, too, they've said the Jets have known for a couple days who the pick's going to be.
Oh, wow.
Connor Hughes just tweeted who needs
the pick is in. The pick is in. The pick is in. I've seen the pick.
Yep.
We'll get it. We'll get it going in a second here, but the pick is in. Wow. How about that, Mike?
Yep.
That's something. All right. Producer Sean behind the scenes, let us know when you're ready to announce the pick and we can announce it, because it is in. The Jets beat has announced it. Oh boy, man. This is interesting. This is very, very, very interesting. Interested to see how Jets fans are reacting to this. We got some comments in chat already. Producer Sean, let us know when you're ready. No worries, no rush. Just I don't want to cut us off mid-sentence here. Okay.
So with the second pick, the Jets select David Bailey, pass rusher from Texas Tech.
Wow, man. Wow. David Bailey, the pick.
David Bailey is your newest New York Jet. So two things that I automatically think, irrespective. Number one, the beat is cooked. I think the beat is firmly cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, the Jets are extremely leaky for all this no leaks thing. They are extremely leaky because this got out weeks beforehand. And number three, the Jets just got the best pass rusher in the entire draft at number 2 overall. They also got a guy who they know what position he's going to play, which they don't with Arvell Reese. They said they were going to use him as a Sam and move him around. Instead, they take David Bailey. What I think Darren Muji's doing here is he's looking at Denver, who basically they built the defense the Jets want to build, I think, because they have 2 edge rushers who can't defend the run very well, and Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper, and they work fine. And I think people are overdoing the whole run defense gambit. I think that Bailey is going to come in immediately and be a very productive pass rusher. I know he may not have Arvell Reese's freaky ceiling, but I think there's a lot of boxes you need to check for Arvell Reese to hit that ceiling. David Bailey, very known quantity. Right away, you can put him up against, I think, NFL tackles, and he's going to beat NFL tackles.
Yeah. So first, I'm surprised. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but I have questions about how the Jets handle this pre-draft process.
Adam Schefter, by the way, did say that there were 3 assistant coaches on Stanford's staff that Reich has relationships with that all vouch for Bailey.
Yeah, and there's the Reich. I don't think Frank Reich, who's probably a stopgap offensive coordinator, should be influencing the decision of the number 2 overall pick. That would be my take on that. But I think I'm going to be. I know, and I think I'm going to be a bit more negative than you, Mike. Look, I think David Bailey has a chance to be a really good NFL player, and I think he's going to come in and be someone that can get you 10+ sacks every single year. I think there's a chance to age very poorly for the Jets. I think Arvell Reese has a much higher ceiling than David Bailey as a prospect. I think Arvell Reese is currently a better football player than David Bailey. I think he is going to come in year 1 and probably play more snaps, and there's a good chance he has a bigger impact. I'm very curious to see, because I think there's a team that's going to trade up to 3 and grab Reese right now. And I'll tell you this right now, I think if Bailey was there, I don't think that would happen. And I think that says a lot about how the two are viewed around the league. I think the general consensus is the NFL is higher on Arvell Reese, clearly, than the Jets were. And usually when that's the case, I have pause and I have hesitation. I think David Bailey is a really good player who, like you said, is the best pure pass rusher in this class. I have concerns about his fit on a defensive line that already employs Will McDonald.
Well, what do you say with the Denver example? Because I think that's what they're chasing.
I don't know, man. I do not think David Bailey is someone that I would trust to play 60% of snaps right now. And if you're taking a guy at number 2 overall, I think that's a problem. I think David Bailey, if you trade,
especially in a 3-4, I think he can. Especially with Tavondre Sweat.
I was going to say, now Tavondre Sweat, Kingsley Enagbari, David Onyemata, Harrison Phillips, they're run stoppers. That is a huge part of this defense. Like, that is an integral part of this defense. Demario Davis, Minkah Fitzpatrick. They did a lot to improve their run defense in the offseason to prepare for this pick. I just think they're shooting low here. They're kind of swinging low, taking the low-hanging fruit and the quote-unquote safer prospect who I think has a lower floor and a lower ceiling than Arvell Reese, which is why I'm not a fan. That said, I hope it works out. As Mr. Mule in chat said, I don't like it, hoping it works out. That's kind of where I stand right now. It's not like when the Jets took Will McDonald over Jackson Smith-Njigba a few years back, I was very upset about that pick. I kind of made that.
This is not that by any stretch of the imagination.
And that's what I'm bringing up as an example of. I like David Bailey obviously a lot more than I like Will McDonald then. I think this has a chance to age, maybe not quite as poorly, because I don't think anybody thought JSN would be as good as he was. I think it has a chance to age very poorly for the Jets. And if it does, it will be reflective of this coaching staff that they didn't believe that they could maximize Arvell Reese at the NFL level. And that is another concern for me about this coaching staff.
Here's actually a really interesting stat. Doug Farrar tweeted it out. The Jets last year, edge rushers last year, 15 sacks, 112 pressures. David Bailey last year, 15 sacks, 81 pressures.
Yeah.
They were 31st in sacks last year. Like they needed a guy like David Bailey.
They do. And I think he has a chance to be transformational for the defense. I think if he reaches his ceiling and he fully hits, then you're getting a Brian Burns type player, right? And Brian Burns, you proposed this scenario to me, I think last week, not this past show, but a week ago, that if you could have told me that the Jets are getting Brian Burns, the number 2 overall pick, would you take it? And I said yes. If I know you're getting Brian Burns, I'm taking it every time. So if he reaches his ceiling, if David Bailey reaches what his ceiling could be at the NFL level, then this is a good pick, obviously, right? It'd be silly to prematurely call this a bad pick. I just think it's not the pick that I would have made, and I think it has a chance to age very poorly. The number 3 pick is in, by the way, and we also have a guest that we could bring on. We'll announce the number 3 pick, and
then I'll hop off.
And then you can hop off, and we can bring on our next guest. Mike will be rejoining us a bit later to talk about in the lead up to the 16th overall pick. He'll be joining us probably around pick 11. But I want to get the thoughts of somebody that I've not talked to about this draft, and we'll talk to him in a moment about this David Bailey pick. But we also have the number 3 pick to announce. So whenever producer Sean is ready, we can tee him up with this pick. And Mike, I'll spoil it a little bit now and say I'm pretty happy because with the number 3 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the Arizona Cardinals are not trading, they select Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. I just made some money because I put $100 on Jeremiah Love being a top 3 pick. So I'm pretty happy that he went top 3. I'm not shocked at all by this. I had a feeling Love was going to go 3. Obviously, I'm not shocked because I put the money on it. I had a feeling he was going to go 3, whether that meant that the Cardinals were trading down or whether it meant that they were going to stay put at 3 and take them in themselves. I'm not surprised that he's the pick here. I guess I'm a little surprised that they didn't trade down, but you know what? If there wasn't a team that was willing to give them enough to move up, I don't think it's shocking. Mike, what are your immediate thoughts before you sign off?
Well, I had Love going to the Titans. Man, if the Jets play the Titans week 1 and Robert Saleh gets Arvell Reese, that is going to be that's going to be something.
Boy. And that
But I think Love is a guy where, look, you don't take a running back at 3 unless he's a sure thing. Love is as close to a sure thing as I've seen probably since Saquon. Him and Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
So Arizona is in talent acquisition mode. They are a bad team right now. I thought they were going to take whichever pass rusher the Jets did not take. I was wrong there. And it's hard to they had no running backs right now, and Mike LaFleur, pretty decent run game designer. They needed like a bell cow, like here's our guy. And they got it. Justin, if you want to go introduce
some guests. You want to we'll introduce our guest first. Joining us here, formerly of the Draft Network, a new member of our fan sided team, somebody who knows the draft very well, better than me, better than you. Well, I don't know. You put together that big board. I don't want to undersell you, but better than me. Joining us is Jaime Eisner. Jaime, what's going on, my man?
Well, we finally got some answers. I mean, we've been waiting for Bailey Reese at 2 for what seems like a month now, and then Jeremiah Love started to be that 3 or 4, and I think now this pick gets really interesting because we saw some late smoke about Sonny Styles and the Titans being really connected. Arvell Reese is still on the board. Does a team trade up? We've heard a lot about Kansas City, about New Orleans potentially trading up. So this is going to get a little exciting here now. But I'm not surprised the Cardinals went this way now. There seems to be a strong indication that somebody at the very, very top of the organization wanted this call. Not sure they're in the spot of their life cycle where this makes a lot of sense. But, I'm not going to talk down Jeremiah Love as a player. I think you guys just said it. He is the best running back prospect maybe since Saquon Barkley. He's better than Ashton Genty. He's same tier as Bijan. If you want to, I'm not going to fight you if you say Bijan, but like he's better than Gibbs, better than Genty. So this is a truly special talent at the running back position. You just wonder, are the Cardinals going to be good enough, soon enough to actually get any value out of him before the end of his rookie contract?
Yeah.
I'll go and sign off. We'll be back on around picks 11 to 20. So you're not rid of me just yet. But
damn.
For now, it's Auf Wiedersehen.
See you, left guy. I'm gonna move myself over to the right side because we have a running bit that I'm the right guy and he's the left guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got to keep consistency here. I'm very curious about what this means for Tyler Algier too, and if he's probably not too pleased about this because I think he signed in Arizona thinking he was most likely going to be RB1, and now all of a sudden he's kind of back in the exact same role that he was in Atlanta as
the same time.
Yeah,
was it a year later that they took Bijan? So it's almost like it's almost. Yes. I mean, obviously he just signed this offseason, but. It's crazy. And I like Algier a lot.
I
I think he's somebody that I know fantasy players kind of hated for a minute because he always kept, vulturing Bijan touchdowns. But like he's a capable starting caliber running back. He may not be an elite running back, but he's capable. James Conner's coming back for at least one more year in Arizona as well. So it's going to be a little crowded back there. They don't have the QB situation figured out, but I get it. I also know this is a team that, from being out there in Arizona, I used to live there for a while. Went to Arizona State, forks up. We'll see maybe a couple of my guys come off the board here on night one, but
maybe
they need some hype, they need some attention, and they need to sell some jerseys. And Jeremiah Love will absolutely do all of those things for them, and he makes them better. It's just, the contract situation, which I'm sure is going to get brought up a lot, of like, I believe he's already going to be like a top 8 or top 7 cap hit at the running back position in the NFL as a rookie.
It's a lot.
I guess if you're going to take the swing, to me, I don't have an issue with the first round running backs if you're in a window to try to compete. I don't think the Cardinals are even close to the window to compete. I'm surprised they didn't trade out of the spot.
It feels a little like the Saquon pick. Good note here from producer Sean, by the way. I believe Ari Myrov tweeted this out, that Jeremiah Love is going to make $50.5 million fully guaranteed on his rookie deal. That is the most fully guaranteed money ever given to a running back in NFL history. And this is a rookie contract. That is wild to see how much the rookie scale for these picks has gone up. Wow. The number 4.
Yeah, you saw it too.
I believe number 4 is in. We'll have producer Sean tee that up. Brian's saying, I could hear Salah sprinting up those steps right now. Buddy, I got to tell you, I don't know if it's what you're thinking, Brian. I don't know if it's what I was thinking either. Oh my goodness.
And when it gets queued up, it's funny because this is one of those things, and I won't spoil it, but if you asked everybody in January what this pick could be, this was a very popular pick, and then we've kind of gotten off of it. So we'll let the producers out there show you all.
I think people just got, the locked in on Robert Saleh, but instead, it's not Arvell Reese. With the number 4 overall pick, the Tennessee Titans are selecting Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State University. This one's a shocker. Like you said, it is a pick that I think people had mocked in the past, but really people had gone away from this. I haven't seen this in mocks in a while. Everyone was assuming it was either going to be Arvell Reese or maybe there was a lot of Sonny Styles buzz, as you mentioned. Instead, it's a receiver. It's Carnell Tate. It is Cam Ward's new wide receiver 1. What are your immediate thoughts on this pick, Jamie?
You know what? You got your franchise quarterback, you think. You want to do everything you can to put talent around him. And whether it's going to be Jeremiah Love at pick 4 or Carnell Tate here at pick, Carnell Tate here at pick 4.
Yeah.
They needed more receiving weapons down the stretch. I think Cam flashed last year. You saw it a little bit, but Calvin Ridley isn't the player that he used to be. They have some fun, pieces, in DK and Gunnar Helm, but those are not guys you're building an offense around. So this pick to me makes a lot of sense. You have that young starting quarterback, and I give credit to Robert Saleh to not take the temptation to take the guy on your side of the ball here, because obviously when you're a new head coach and you're a second-time head coach, you're probably not getting a third shot. Like, this is your last shot to succeed, and I appreciate him doing that. The other side, and I'll obviously let you talk about the Tate part, but kind of makes you think a little bit about Arvell Reese. We spent a lot of time talking about him number 2, and then we saw the mock drafts, and everyone's like, oh no, they're going to trade up instantly into the top 3 or 4 to take him if he's there. It hasn't happened, and 2 other teams that could have used him have passed. We'll see what happens with the Giants, who have needs at receiver as well, and maybe get antsy that one of them's off the board. They have needs at linebacker. But do they view Reese as an edge? They don't really. I mean, they could, but that's not necessarily an area that they're looking to add right now. So this becomes really interesting. But Carnell Tate, to me, this is all about just, hey, we're going to surround Cam Ward with whatever we can. And I don't know if Tate's ceiling is super high, but he feels like a high floor player. He does a lot of things well, and he's instantly going to be the wide receiver 1 for Cam Ward.
Agreed. And he's a quarterback's best friend. He's going to make life a lot easier for Cam Ward. Even if the ball placement isn't perfect, he's somebody that can go up and get the ball. I'm interested too, because I was expecting Jordyn Tyson to be the first wide receiver off the board. That's kind of the smoke had shifted in that direction. I know for a while it was Tate was kind of wide receiver 1 just because of the medicals for Tyson. But over the last week or so, it had really shifted in Jordyn Tyson's favor. Now, if you're the Giants picking at 5, I mean, you're probably still happy because their apparent wide receiver 1 is Jordyn Tyson. At least that's been the report. So their guy's still there. Yeah. Arvell Reese is sitting right there. Caleb Downs, another player that they've been rumored to target. Obviously, we didn't think he'd go in the top 4, but he's still there. Sonny Styles is still there. They have an embarrassment of potential options here. I'm very curious to see where they go. I'm leaning Tyson because I think in my original mock, I had them going Downs, but at this point, there's no way Tyson's making it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm thinking too, because I don't think that's smoke. I think they do like Tyson a lot, and they know there's other teams, including the Dallas Cowboys, that like Jordyn Tyson. So you're playing this game if you're the Giants now. Who's most likely to get to 10? And I think if Reese and Styles, as they're falling, you're going to take a bet that Reese, Styles, or Downs make it to 10. Lemon's not going here. But I think you're taking a real risk if you think Washington and New Orleans and Kansas City are all going to pass on a receiver. So if you're locked in on getting a wide receiver 1, the Titans almost kind of force them to do it.
Yeah, well, this is very interesting because the pick is in, and I have a feeling this is going to make Jets fans feel a certain type of way. With the 5th overall pick, the New York Giants select Arvell Reese, linebacker, edge rusher, Ohio State University. The Giants land the guy that I think a lot of Jets fans, myself included, wanted. I mean, what a story this is going to be now. Arvell Reese goes to the Giants. The Jets pass on him. They take David Bailey. These two players are going to be compared to each other for the rest of their careers.
Forever.
And we're going to come back to this moment 5 to 10 years from now, and we're going to see where their careers have gone. And my goodness, man.
What a gift for the Post, by the way. What a gift.
My God,
so
the headlines.
For those of you that are not familiar with me, I was born in New York. So I grew up, now don't hate me, my dad was a Giants fan. I grew up in a Giants household.
Okay.
I don't have a rooting interest at the moment, but I know what it's like there. I know what it's like. And to have this happen, if Reese get anywhere else other than the Giants, yeah, you're still going to compare. But in the same stadium, in the same market, and also like the Giants being the one, and everyone is already ready to say the Mickey Mouse Jets.
Yeah.
Look, it's tough to say. We're predicting the future. I personally think Arvell Reese is the better football player. I think he'll be there. He'll get there. He'll be that option.
I agree.
I don't think David Bailey's a bad player. I don't think it's a bad pick, but you're now in this. They are interlocked forever now, forever.
Yep. And now it's the responsibility as well of new Giants defensive coordinator Denard Wilson, who was a top assistant for the Jets for a few years. He's going to be tasked with maximizing Arvell Reese in New York. I mean, that is storybook stuff. Meanwhile, we have a trade. The Kansas City Chiefs have traded up to the number 6 overall pick. The Browns have traded down to 9. A lot of people thought the Browns would go offensive tackle. No offensive lineman off the board. They probably feel pretty comfortable taking someone at 9. I wonder who the Chiefs are trading up here for. Maybe this is a Jordyn Tyson spot. Maybe this is Ruben Bain. I heard there was some buzz around potentially a team trading up for Bain. Where do you think Kansas City might go here?
Yeah, you start to look at the teams that they're trading ahead of. Again, it's that Washington, New Orleans spot. So really, I think it has to be either Tyson or Bain.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Styles. Maybe they really like him as well. And I think he's a guy that can have some success there. But to me, it feels like, well, it's going to be one of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
I know we just predicted Tyson before and got it wrong, but
I know.
I just you have to see the logic of you're only trading up because you think you're going to get sniped. So maybe I feel like they could have sat back with Bain. So to me, I'm going to go with Tyson or Styles here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Tyson. I think they got a little spooked by Carnell Tate going 4, and I think they know he's probably not getting past New Orleans. Obviously Washington likely doesn't take Tyson unless that'd be a pretty big surprise. But I certainly think New Orleans would probably go Tyson. And if you're the Saints, you're probably panicking right now. Wow, if that's right, I'm seeing the pick. That is very interesting.
I'm waiting for it now. I was just looking at the trade details.
Yeah, I think I just saw the pick. It's not somebody that we mentioned. There might be some surprises. I want to see if somebody else tweets this out too, because I've only seen it from one source.
I mean, they have been. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not tipping. I
That
know
would be
there's been late talk about offensive line, for them. So
Yes.
I would assume that's what it would be if. Oh no, it's not. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
That is very, very interesting.
But it is a position of need, and I understand why they're doing that.
It is. course, they recently made the trade, obviously, so that would be part of it. But I feel like people thought they'd be making a trade this early or making this big this early. I want to see if somebody else confirms it before we fully talk about it.
I will say this: this is a player that was linked to New Orleans. So this is something that, and I guess a little bit to Washington. So this also makes sense when we're able to, if and when it happens. I think, we've got a double confirmation on that for the room. So I could see this. And it makes sense that he'll be an instant starter there. And we'll talk about it in a second.
Have you seen it? You've seen it from a good source?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I've seen it from 3. Yeah, I've got 3 sources.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I just saw now. All right.
No. I've been there. Go for
it. With the number 6 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs trade up to select Delane, cornerback out of LSU. This one's a shocker. We talked about potentially trading up for Jordyn Tyson here, for Ruben Bain. Instead, I feel like a lot of people did not expect Delane to be the first defensive back off the board. He goes higher than Caleb Downs, which now Downs is sliding a bit. We'll see where he ends up falling to. Maybe the Jets could consider moving up for Downs. I think that's something that they can consider. This is high for Delane, but he's an awesome player, and I think a lot of teams have him probably as their cornerback 1 in this class.
Yeah, and I think this is probably as much about where Jamad McCoy's knee is as it does about Mansour Delane of like, hey, if we're going to go out and get a corner that we think that's going to start for us right away, we have to do it now. He was the best cornerback in college football this past year. Was absolutely dominated at LSU. I really liked him last year. I thought he could have been a second-round pick if he came out in last year's draft. But yeah, if you're Kansas City right now, you have some holes. And the Rams took 2 of your starting corners away from you. And this is a team that is not going into any sort of rebuild. They're trying to find instant impact playmakers right away, whether Mahomes returns in week 1 or not. So I get it. I'm a little surprised they felt they had to trade up for him, but obviously they might have some intel, about where Washington, again, cornerback needy team, or New Orleans, a cornerback needy team, needed to go. But I will say this tells me that we're going – again, we've made 2 predictions on the show and been wrong already, but I'll say this, it tells me we're going to be waiting a while before that second cornerback comes off the board, whether that's McCoy, whether that's Chris Johnson, whether it's Colton Hood. We're going to probably be waiting a little bit if the Chiefs felt this compelled to go up to get Delane.
I agree. Some reactions in chat. OMG for Mr. Mule. That's a choice from Richard McCabe. It certainly does feel like this is earlier than most people thought Mansour Delane would go. I am I can't even say it's a bad pick because, like you said, Kansas City has a hole at cornerback. They traded away Trent McDuffie. Right now, I'm looking at their depth chart because I had to familiarize myself with who their current starter corners are. I knew Christian Fulton. Noel Williams, right now, 3rd round pick last year, is currently one of their starting outside corners. Kader Kohu is their starting nickel, and he missed all of last year with a torn ACL. So they certainly have a need here at cornerback. I get why they did it, or I get why they made this pick. It's surprising that they felt the need to trade up because that tells us that they likely had some sort of intel that maybe Washington just needs help on defense everywhere. They would have made that pick. New Orleans, again, everyone is putting wide receiver to New Orleans. Maybe they were going to address cornerback. Either way, they didn't feel that Delane was going to make it to 9. Now this starts a slide for Jordyn Tyson. Sonny Styles still there. Caleb Downs still there. A lot of names still on the board.
3rd and a 5th, by the way, the Chiefs gave up. 74 and 148 is what they gave to move up. So that's not nothing.
It's not
to
nothing.
Move up 3 spots. So
to move up from 9 to
6. So that's pretty significant. Now I know they've had some extra, but I mean, I say this, it's not as expensive as it would be if there were like a quarterback sitting there, obviously, but they didn't give up any picks for next year. So that's the dance we're going to see today and tomorrow of how many teams can avoid giving up, day 1 or day 2 picks from next year to do what they want to do in this draft. But I mean, again, I get it. I'm surprised they traded up, but like I said, that's the one thing that we don't know is like they know more than we do about where the rest of the league is going and where they're headed. And even with leaks and whatnot, they don't trade up without being like, hey, we're worried. And that's very interesting. I didn't think we'd be, 6 picks in here with no Styles.
I know.
I think that's the biggest one so far. I think Tyson, I think we thought maybe 5, and then you thought again 7, 8, 9, 10, all Tyson spots potentially. It's really interesting. And I don't really know where the Commanders go here. I mean, Styles would be a great fit. It's funny, you sit back and you think about mock drafts in January, and there's always been this talk about sometimes the most accurate mock drafts come late in January or around the Super Bowl, because we don't get lost in all of the hype of the combine, of the Senior Bowl, of everything else. We start moving all these guys around. What was one of the most commonly mocked pairings from January? It was Sonny Styles going 7 to Washington, along with receivers, but that was one that made a lot of sense. That's a defense that needs a ton of help at every level of that defense. You got a defensive head coach. They do need a receiver, so I would not fault them here for making a pick at receiver if they go with Jordyn Tyson here. But it does kind of feel like there's a really perfect fit for them, that they didn't have to move up, they didn't have to move around, and they could sit back and take the best pure off-ball linebacker in this draft class.
Definitely. And before we get to this next pick, we got another member joining us. By the way, JB, you can stay until whenever you want. Do not feel forced to.
You feel free. You're going to have to kick me off. I might end up staying on for a bit because I've been doing a year's worth of prep. I don't want to ruin it. You know?
We always can. I'm doing this for 4 hours. I don't need to be hearing my voice this much. All right. You can stay on as long as you want. But we're joined by another member of our Jet Press team right here. He just covered the breaking news. And unfortunately, I know Charlie Baduini, who's about to join us, had some pre-written stuff for Arvell Reese that he had to probably throw away. Charlie, what's going on, man? There he is. What's going on, man?
Hey, Justin, what's going on?
How you feeling about that David Bailey pick, buddy?
So I was sitting here, Mendoza, the stuff was coming in, and Connor Hughes tweets, "Who needs visits anyway?"
Yep, I saw that.
And that was the first inkling where I was like, "Oh,
your heart sank. Your heart just sank."
Yeah. So anyway, David Bailey's a Jet. They had to do a little bit of scrambling, just a little bit, but still exciting nonetheless. It's arguably, or no, not arguably, he is the best pass rusher in the class. So, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. And Jamie, I want to get your thoughts as well on the David Bailey pick in a sec. But before that, we do have the number 7 overall pick. Whenever Sean is ready, producer Sean can tee that up because the number 7 pick is out there. Also, Adam Schefter reporting that the Giants do not intend to trade Kayvon Thibodeau. That was another thing, obviously, after that Arvell Reese pick that people were obviously speculating. So they're just going to have Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Arvell Reese, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Insane edge room. I also wonder how much they're going to play Arvell Reese off ball then. If that's their edge room, surely they got to get him some off ball looks, you would imagine, just to get him on the field. But we're ready for this number 7 overall pick. With the 7th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. The Ohio State run continues. That is the last 3 picks. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 of the last 4 picks have been Ohio State players. We expected they would go high, and they certainly have. Like you said, Jamie, this is not a shock. I feel like this was one of the picks that was.
We got one.
We did get one. I had a mock draft come out this morning. This was a pick for me. So I got 1 right. I also had Love at 3. So I got Love right. Mendoza, hey, pat on the back. There you go. And Styles right. Not a shock here. Washington needed defensive help. Styles, probably the best defensive player available. He is an awesome linebacker. I mean, I've seen Fred Warner comps, and I don't think they're that far off. He's a fantastic player. Jamie, your thoughts initially on this pick?
Yeah, tremendous off-ball linebacker, ton of potential, obviously a freak athlete as we saw in Indianapolis. And he's got some more pass rush upside than is being talked about. If you kind of look at the pass rush reps that he got, he was almost as effective as Arvell Reese was when he got those opportunities. Now, Ohio State kind of used Reese a little bit of all over the place. But this is a guy that I don't think that there's that much of a difference between the two. And I think if you're talking about just pure, if you take position scarcity out of it, I think you can argue he's one of the 5 best players in this class overall. And so I think that's a great pick for Washington. They need it desperately, and they didn't have to move to do it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. With some comments to get to here. Windirt said, "I'm so bummed out. I literally just got a headache and a stomach ache." I'm assuming this is in reference to the David Bailey pick, and they're not just bummed about Sonny Styles to the Commanders. Brandon R. said, "Bailey can still be a Hall of Famer. No need to panic. Not like a Cole Strange pick." No, this is not a Cole Strange pick. Any Jets fan crashing out over this like this is a Cole Strange pick. They're crashing out for no reason. I told this to Mike Luciano when he was here. I was not a fan of the Will McDonald pick at the time. I very much wanted the Jets to draft Jackson Smith and Jigba. As much as I wanted Arvell Reese over at David Bailey, it's not that same level of a pick. And Will McDonald's still a good player, but I certainly don't think this is a situation where Jets fans should be crashing out. Jamie, I do want to get your thoughts, though, on that David Bailey pick, because we have not gotten to talk about that yet. You joined right after it. And then, Charlie, I'll get your thoughts right after that. But, Jamie, first, what are your thoughts on David Bailey at 2? What are your thoughts on him as a player?
Yeah, I think I like him as he's good. He's good, maybe not great, but he's got a lot of potential. And I think if you look at this, and if there's one thing that does tend to translate really well from college to the NFL, is guys that can have strong performances as a power four pass rusher. And he absolutely did that this past year. Do I have some concerns that he's a little bit of not of a great lateral athlete? Yeah. Does he have a pad level that's a little bit too high? Yeah. Is his run defense not where it needs to be right now? Yeah. But would it shock me if he's a dozen sack a year guy pretty soon? No. And I think that's the point where I think we have to understand in this draft that the number 2 pick is not necessarily equal to the number 2 pick in a lot of other drafts. I think this is a case of this would be somebody that would have gone in that 5 to 10 range in most drafts, but he is one of the 10 best players in this class. Is 2 a little high? Probably, but there are still concerns with Arvell Reese as well. There's a lot of projection with Arvell Reese, and I think we don't use this phrase as much anymore because there's so many hybrid roles, but he would be somebody that 20 years ago got labeled as a tweener and that teams might have shied away from. He isn't as polished as a pass rusher right now as David Bailey, and I think there's a point where there might be a period where Arvell Reese has to have a little bit bigger of a learning curve, even if his upside's a little bit more. But I don't think this is a bad pick. I don't think this is. I don't even think this is a Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson thing. I don't think Arvell Reese has quite earned the right to be looked at as a surefire, no doubt star player. Could he get there? Absolutely. Do I have him ranked higher than Bailey? Yeah, I do. Is it that much higher? Not really. And same thing with the TDN staff as well. They were pretty close. So. To me, I understand that there's a lot of people, including a good friend of mine that's a giant Jets fan, that wanted Arvell Reese very badly. But I don't think there's a huge gap in talent between the 2 picks, but we'll see how it plays out. And obviously, you'll get a front row seat on both teams, on both players going forward.
100%. And Charlie, I'll get your thoughts in a moment, but we have the number 8 overall pick to announce. With the number 8 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select wide receiver, Arizona State. Tyson comes off the board, and I'll say again, got this one right. I did say Tyson was going to go 8. That's 3 in a row, or 2 in a row, right? Yeah, 2 in a row. Because I don't think anyone really had Delane, especially the Chiefs trading up for Delane at 6. This one's not a shock. I do want to get back to the Bailey conversation in a sec, but we'll give our initial thoughts on the Tyson pick. Saints needed a wide receiver. Everyone kind of knew that was happening. I think once Carnell Tate came off the board at 4, it was pretty clear that Tyson probably wasn't going to make it past the Saints at 8, barring a stunner. If you're the Giants now, your top 2 wide receivers are off the board. For the Jets, because we'll still look at this from a Jets perspective, there are now two top wide receivers off the board in the top 8 picks. Not ideal. I'll also say if you're a Jets fan, you probably wanted to see a run on offensive linemen early, and we have not seen one pick yet. So I think if you're a Jets fan, you want to hear Spencer Fano's name called. You want to hear Francis Maui-Noah, Monroe Freeling, whoever else. You want to hear those names coming off the board soon, because right now, Mekhi Lemon's the last of that big 3 left, and unless you want to put Omar Cooper in that conversation as well. And they're both still on the board for now, but there's some teams that definitely could use a wide receiver between pick 8 and pick 16. Wonder if the Jets get a little antsy and maybe trade up. If not, you might be looking at Denzel Boston territory, maybe Omar Cooper if he falls to 16. But Charlie, you're here. I want to get your thoughts on David Bailey because you've barely gotten a chance to speak at all yet. What are your thoughts on that Bailey pick? I know your initial reaction was, damn it, I have to now throw away these pre-writes, but how you feeling about the pick?
No, I mean, I'm feeling fine about it. It's not a devastating, blow to morale or anything like that. Bailey's a great prospect. Really excited to see him play. I think the issue, and I'm sure the sentiment is shared around a bunch of Jet fans who were excited about the prospect of adding a guy like Reese, it's just the messaging around Bailey and the expert mock drafts from Jeremiah, from Schrager, from Breer of, the Jets need a win now guy. They're going to go with the win now guy over the potential, higher ceiling project. It just stinks of like we're scared and we're making the safe pick, and no one wants that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it somewhat disappointing. Setting aside the fact that I had 2 pre-writes ready for Reese to go, it's a little disappointing, but I'm excited about Bailey nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree. I think the framing around it was off, and I hope that the framing was just speculation from the outside and not the logic that the Jets were using, because I certainly don't like the framing that David Bailey is the safer prospect or the higher floor prospect, because I really don't agree with those things. I get the perspective where it's coming from, that you know what you're getting more so with David Bailey. He's less of a projection, but you're still like, he's still a projection because you're hoping that he can become a better run defender. You're hoping that he can be a guy that can play 3 downs, that can play 75% of snaps at the NFL level, because I don't think he is right now. That's part of that projection. And he's also going to be 23 years old by the time week 1 rolls around. So you're looking at Arvell Reese. Again, I don't want to keep harping back on this, but Arvell Reese he never trained as an edge rusher. He's never had an off season to prepare as an edge rusher. He's never had a season where he's been training full-time as an edge rusher. You give him 2 years of training to be an edge rusher, right? He'll be 22 years old 2 years from now. That'll still be younger than David Bailey will become week 1. So that's the argument there, where it's like, man, I still don't think Bailey is the higher floor player. I get where they're coming from with it, but I certainly think Reese is the higher ceiling player. Jamie, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, you know what? I think this is where, as someone coming on the media side, I think this is where sometimes trying so hard to look like you're not making a leak can hurt you. There's a reason why sometimes teams leak this information, and everybody always assumes it's a smoke screen, it's to throw other teams off. Sometimes it's to gauge the fan base or to shape the narrative around a player that they want. And I think they could have done, if this was their pick, which it seems to be from all the national reporters, that they settled on this pick several days, if not a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where, especially when you're the number 2 pick and you already know what the number 1 pick is, there's no risk there. And I know they were hoping maybe somebody would trade or something like that, but you could have set the narrative a little different. You could have leaked certain things about David Bailey, because now, like you guys just said, the only conversation is what's coming from the outside. Oh, he's safer. Oh, they're taking this guy here because they're maybe afraid to develop, where you can kind of slowly but surely, and you see nobody else seems to have any problem just tweeting out exact texts from agents and coaches and whatnot these days. You can kind of help set the narrative and prepare the fan base for the pick. Instead, you really had a fan base that was rallying around, no, we think it's Reese. Everybody is wrong. We're right. We trust our team. And then pulled the rug out from under him. So not only are they trying to scramble to come up with their own narrative, but they felt like, damn, all the people that we are supposed to trust, all the people in the building that are telling us this player are wrong. And it's just kind of like a double mix of like, is this turned into something it didn't need to be for the Jets, which is unfortunate. Such a Jets thing to happen. But it's one of those things where it's like, this is where you can strategically use media leaks to help draw the narrative. And they did the exact opposite. And kind of they made their own beat look foolish in a way, because their own beat was the only ones that were behind this entire process. And I'll be honest with you, when I talk to people too, I have a Jets connect, would not tell me, would just not tell me. And that's fine. He doesn't owe me anything. I'm not that special. But everybody else, when you're talking to around the league, said, no, we expect it to be David Bailey. So why couldn't you have made this transition? And you hear the whole thing about somebody leaked to the beat that they canceled the 30 visit. Those 30 visits get canceled, but they almost never get talked about. Nobody knows who got canceled, who got changed up, who did all that. I thought that was okay, we're going to tease Reese and see how the fan base reacts if we do that. It was the complete opposite. So I don't really understand what happened here. And I feel like it's not even so much about the player anymore. It's about the process and the logic that this team took over the last 2 or 3 weeks to get here. And it just feels extremely unnecessary. And all they did is succeeding in just pissing fans off, which is the last thing they need to do right now, because it's just like, come on.
Yeah, it's a great point. We're going to announce the number 9 overall pick in a second, but it's a great point because you mentioned there's not a lot of leaks out of the building. I know Peter Schrager has been on that a lot. He's been saying that, even though there's a lot of this talk around the league that, the Jets want Bailey, the talk's really not coming from the Jets. It's kind of just speculation from league insiders, from agents around the league, from other front offices. But that report about the Jets canceling the 30 visit with Bailey was leaked for a reason, because that was a report. SNY's Connor Hughes is who broke that. That's likely coming from the Jets, and you have to question why that got leaked. But first, if we go back to that conversation, we do have the number 9 overall pick to announce. The Cleveland Browns have traded down, and with the 9th overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns are selecting offensive tackle out of Utah. The Browns trade down and they get their tackle of choice. I imagine this is somebody that they were probably targeting at 6, and they're probably thrilled that they were able to move down to 9 and get him at this spot. Obviously, the Browns had major offensive line needs. They went into the offseason having to replace literally all 5 starters on their offensive line. They did some of that work in free agency, but right now their starting tackles are DeJuan Jones and Titus Howard. I'm curious. I'm imagining Fano probably sticks at right tackle, and maybe they move Howard into guard. They could move him back to left tackle. Either way, they get one of their starting tackles, and I think this is a really good pick for the Browns.
Yeah, I agree. And this is, we just talked about it. Another pick from January.
Yeah.
Spencer Fano, first offensive lineman off the board. Spencer Fano being a pick for Cleveland. I mean, this is sometimes, I think this is a good reminder, and I know we're all going to forget about this a year from now, but this is always a good reminder that sometimes the things that we think at the end of the season are the things that are actually still going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, they needed to address the offensive line. Spencer Fano's had a very interesting draft cycle because, he was taking snaps at center in Indianapolis at the combine. Some people projected him to be there, and I think he could stay at tackle. I think he could stay at right tackle. They didn't draft him here to move him inside. That happens at some point, it happens, but they're taking him to play tackle. They have to figure out their situation as well. They have, pick later on, but it's one of those scenarios where I'm not surprised. I thought, at times, I know people didn't love his size. I know they thought there were some concerns there, but some of his film, he looks like the best offensive tackle in this class. So I'm not surprised they end up making this pick. And I agree with you. I think he does end up staying at right tackle for now. I think it would do Titus Howard some good to go back inside a little bit. But they can shuffle a little bit. And at the end of the day, there's always injuries on the line. They'll figure out what they need to do there. But this is the guy they wanted all along. They were able to pick up a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick and still get their guy. That's a win.
I want to get to a couple of questions in chat. The number 10 pick was just announced, but we're going to cue that up in a sec. Charlie, before we announce the number 10 overall pick for the Giants, I want to get your thoughts on this from J Mark. Should the Jets trade up for Lemon? And also I'll add this from Brandon R. Said, please no trade up. I'd be mad if we trade up more than 1 or 2 picks. Obviously, Mekhi Lemon's still there. I'll also note Caleb Downs is still on the board, and I'll spoil this now. Caleb Downs is not the pick for the Giants at 10, which I think might be a surprise to some because the 2 guys they were most heavily linked to, they're going to come away with neither of them. But would you trade up if you were the Jets? Would you start considering a trade up here, either for Lemon or someone else?
So it is starting to get interesting that we're getting that run on offensive lineman that you mentioned, Justin, because that's obviously positive for the Jets. It's not something they need. And as we're getting higher up the board, that price to move up is getting cheaper and cheaper relatively. If Downs keeps sliding, I don't see why they should not make him a priority. I mean, I understand receiver is a massive hole for the Jets, and they desperately need to add another, fresh face to that room. But to me, Downs is one of the best prospects in the class. I know he's a safety. This happens almost every year. There's a great safety prospect that just, he ends up sliding into the teens. I think if he keeps slipping, the Jets got to make a move there. And with that, I'm going to jump off and keep on working. But Justin, thank you for having me on. Guys, having a great show so far, and hopefully it's only going to get better and more exciting. So,
of course, Charlie. Sorry again about the pre-writes. Go check out all of Charlie's awesome work on the Jet Press. He's writing up a bunch of stuff. Charlie, we'll catch you later, my friend.